It is time for Congress to act and stop with the false choices. This is not about getting rid of the Second Amendment. It's simply about saying we need reasonable gun safety laws. And this is going to be about your viewers and all of us pleading pleading to the hearts and minds of the people in the United States Senate to say enough with the partisanship.
Vice President Kamala Harris calling out the U.S. Senate and pushing for gun reform this morning following 2 mass shootings in 1 week. But with Republicans already voicing opposition to the proposals, how likely is it that anything passes? Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell joins us now, and we're going to use all this time that we can, sir, with you. In 2019, you were for, you said that you could be for additional conversations about background checks and red flag laws. I'm assuming that is still the case. What do you think might happen in terms of legislation, if anything, on gun control this session?
Boy, I'm having a hard time picking up what you're saying. Are you asking me about...
Asking you about gun control, if that is better for the audio.
Was your question about gun legislation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, first of all, obviously these acts of violence are horrendous. We've seen them happen periodically in our history. It reminds us that the real challenge here is mental illness, and identifying people who are likely to do this kind of thing in advance is very, very difficult. With regard to the gun legislation over in the House, I don't think it would address this issue, but if the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Schumer, wants to bring it up, we'll be happy to debate it. But I think the focus ought to be on identifying people in advance who have the capacity and the interest in carrying out these atrocious attacks.
This is COVID Cable, so to our audience, be patient with us. We're going to try and crank up the audio so we can continue. Got a number of topics here. H.R. 1 comes up in the Senate in about 12 minutes from now. It would massively change the way elections are carried out in America. Raphael Warnock called it the fight for the foundation of democracy. What is in H.R. 1 that would fundamentally change elections in America?
Well, first of all, it's a federal takeover of the way we conduct elections, every election in America. The first outrage is it takes the Federal Election Commission, which has historically been 3-3, so neither party can take advantage of the other, and turn it into a 3-2 agency to police the speech and political activity of America, but to do it in a partisan way. And of course, the president would get the tie-breaking vote to point number 3. So it turns the Federal Election Commission from a judge into a prosecutor. Secondly, it provides public money for political campaigns. Americans hate the idea that their money given to the government is going to be spent on balloons and buttons and attack ads in campaigns. They prefer to see campaigns financed by people who support the 2 candidates and not the federal government. Number 3, it makes mandatory what's called ballot harvesting. That is, somebody can go around, a paid operative of a campaign, and pick up a whole bunch of other people's ballots and turn them in for them. Rampant fraud potential. Fourth, it makes it very difficult for states to clean dead people off the rolls. So this bill obviously is designed to make it easier to cheat, to subsidize campaigns by the federal government, and to have one party take over the enforcement of American elections. It's an atrocity. Every Republican opposes it. We're going to do everything we can to defeat it.
Okay, I'm going to try my luck here. With regard to the answer you just gave on that, on the filibuster, do you know or have you spoken with Senators Manchin or Sinema about where they stand today on that?
Well, on the issue of the filibuster, which is the essence of the Senate, the fact that you can't pass most legislation with a simple majority in the Senate, you have to have some kind of bipartisan buy-in or the bill doesn't pass. Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema have been rock solid that they are opposed to getting rid of the legislative filibuster. That's the essence of the Senate. We could have done that when my party was in the majority. President Trump actually asked us to. I said no, we were not interested in changing the fundamental nature of the United States Senate, which is designed on purpose to kill bad ideas or to reach a compromise so that you can reach that supermajority threshold. It keeps America in the political center.
Sir, I'll give it a shot to see if you can hear me now. Elizabeth Warren has said that the filibuster is based on racism. Is it?
No, the filibuster predates the debates over civil rights. It goes back to the beginning of the country. The filibuster started well before we got into the civil rights debates that have occurred off and on over the history of the country. So the derivation of the filibuster was not related to race or civil rights.
Inauguration Day, you were in the audience on the West Capitol when President Biden was sworn in. He talked about unity and bipartisanship. On the 1st of February, 10 Republican senators went to the Oval Office to cut a deal. Nothing came of that. When will you be at the White House? When have you been invited to meet President Biden?
I haven't been invited to the White House. So far, this administration is not interested in doing anything on a bipartisan basis in the political center. They'd be more than happy to pick off a few of our members and do what they would like to do, but there's been no effort whatsoever by the president or the administration to do anything in the political center.
Let me try again here.
It's been trying to jam through everything
Yeah.
on the hard left. You saw that on the $1.9 trillion COVID package, only 1% of which had to do with vaccines and only 9% of which had to do with health care. The rest of it was a left-wing wish list. They're now cooking up yet another package they're going to call infrastructure, but it's going to be a Trojan horse that includes massive tax increases on Americans. They're going hard left. They misread the election. It's a 50-50 Senate and a very narrow Democratic majority in the House, not a mandate to turn America into Bernie Sanders' view of what America ought to be.
When was the last time you had a conversation with President Biden, even on the phone?
I don't believe I've spoken with him since he was sworn in. We had a couple of conversations before then.
Well, that makes it hard to do bipartisanship, which is what he said he wanted to do. The Republicans pretty much got rolled on the $1.9 trillion, and now the infrastructure bill comes. They say between $2 to $3 trillion. Do you anticipate that the Republicans will be able to push back at all? And how might you do that, given the situation that we're in?
Dana, I had a hard time hearing your question. Would you repeat it?
Bill, could...
Have you been rolled by Democrats on these trillion-dollar bills, sir?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You addressed it a few moments ago about the next big trillion-dollar option here, which would be on infrastructure. There is a suggestion that Democrats will go smaller on the next bill to try and get one or two Republicans to vote with them and then come over the top when it comes to taxes, et cetera. What do you expect to be the next bill in this Democratic-led Senate?
Well, what I expect to happen if the filibuster is not destroyed is that we'll look for areas we can agree on, like we did last year when it was a Republican majority, and try to pass things that make sense for both sides in the political center. As I said before, there is no mandate you can draw out of the November 3rd election for going hard left, and yet that's what they insist on trying to do so far.
Senator, thank you for being patient. We're waiting for H.R. 1 in the Senate in a matter of moments here. Mitch McConnell on the Hill, and to our audience at home, thanks for being patient with us as well. We'll talk again very soon.